Hello, you fabulous interior design professional. Welcome to Business of Design, episode 391, Design with Intention with Marie Cloud. You're so lucky because you get to experience this conversation. I just got to experience this conversation and it was amazing. And once again, I've come away with a to-do list of things I need to improve my business. So thank you, Marie, for that. Marie is going to be talking about obviously intentionality and how to take agency, not just in your business, but in your life. So you can create the experience you want to have for yourself, but also the experience you want your clients to have, and how that's going to resonate so much more than just making spaces that look good. This is about the experience, the subconscious, the feeling, the vibe, the mood that clients are going to have and feel when they are finally able to see the space that you've designed for them. And how can you take that design and just notch it up, add a layer, make it better, make it stronger? Marie has amazing tips. And I love the conversation. And I tell her to come on back to the podcast anytime. And that's a sincere offer, Marie. So please do. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her so you can find her online, of course. Marie Cloud says she's an expert at creating immersive spaces that engage all five senses, blending aesthetic beauty with emotional wellness. Her superpower is designing holistically how the space looks, feels, smells, sounds, and even tastes, while deeply connecting with clients to translate their identities into transformative, nourishing environments. It's so beautiful. You have to go to her website, indigopruitt.com. The first page, you're going to see a photo of Marie looking spectacular, of course, but there's just something so inviting and comforting about how she's positioned herself on this website. I'm going to take another look at my website and see if I can find any of those moments to kind of integrate, because I think it's important. On Instagram, definitely follow her, Indigo Pruitt. She talked a lot about, or a little bit about, loving music and playlists and how those feature in her projects. And I don't do that at all, but I'm going to try, and I'm going to follow her and see how she does it. Marie has a newsletter that she's recently launched, I think. So definitely, again, indigopruitt.com. If you're driving, if you're on the treadmill, if you're in the middle of Pilates, don't try to write this down. Go to businessofdesign.com. All the information is there. And go to YouTube if you're just listening, and you can see the conversation. And what else can I tell you? Oh my gosh, we completed an installation this week, and I'm just like picking up the pieces of my life, if you know what I mean. Those are intensive events, big life events, right? And it was so fun. And I'll talk more about it on another episode. But certainly, this conversation about the senses made me realize that when we can create emotional connection with our clients, they're going to love the work we do even more. It reminds me of, like, you know how a lot of us have very specific traditions for the holidays. So in our house, we celebrate Christmas. Well, actually, my husband's Jewish, so we celebrate Hanukkah at his mom's house, and that's kind of fun. But I don't do that. I just show up for that and enjoy it. But Christmas is something that I love and I'm really into. And one year I decided I was going to change things up, and my kids like had a full-on revolt. And I realized, I think at the time, that the reason that happened is because it's not just about how Christmas looks, it's about emotional attachments. And it has to be the senses, right? How the house smells because you're making a dish that they love and look forward to having every year. How all the textures and the sights and the sounds and the smells that are associated with Christmas are all part of it. And when you mess with that, oh, that brought out the rowdy side of my kids. Anyway, I'll never do that again. Anyway, so that gives me something to think about. Yeah, incorporating the five senses. I think you're going to love this conversation. I know you're going to love Marie Cloud. Quick announcements from Cheryl Horn. Thank you so much for being here. Like, man, oh man, I love that we spend this time together. Thank you so much. If you like Business of Design, please give us a like somewhere. I don't know. There's so many places to like. We never ask. We feel like we're the industry's best kept secret sometimes. And we could use a little love right now. I will say we're coming up on 20 years and I could use a little love right now. So if you're feeling like you got a little extra something and you want to give a shout out to us, I will personally thank you. I appreciate that. And love ya. Glad you're here. Cheryl, over to you.
Thanks, Kimberly. Well, I will second that. Please follow us on social, subscribe to the podcast, and take it a step further. We would love for you to become a member. If you are a dedicated podcast listener and you're making changes based on what you hear here, then I would love to see what you do when you have access to the content within membership. Membership is how we make this podcast possible. So thank you to our existing members, our past members. And if you have not yet joined, I would love for you to do so. Every month, we also do BOD live member meetings. And last week, our topic was tracking forms, but that meeting was a great example of how big of a difference that 1 hour of monthly coaching can really transform the way you implement the systems that you're learning. Members also ask questions on deficiencies, saying no to clients who aren't the right fit, taking on project management, and even managing client expectations when it comes to budget and not being able to answer the question, how much is this going to cost, until step 5. Having these conversations and even having the systems and strategies we teach directly applied to one of your projects, because you have the opportunity to ask that question, really does make a difference. So become a member, join us for our monthly meetings and take advantage of that coaching. I'm also available between those meetings if you have questions to clarify what it is you're learning on any of the programs that you're going through. That support is available to you. If you're already a member, please do reach out, ask those questions as you go. We would love for you to become a member. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And again, subscribe, like, connect with us at Business of Design. Thank you so much.
Well, hello, hello. Well, hello, hello. How are you?
I am hanging in there. How you feeling?
Oh, man. Okay. Is that it? Hanging in? Are we at that stage?
Yep.
What's
Yep.
going what everybody, this is Marie. We're already recording, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Sometimes the best comments are when people first come in. So
Oh my
um
gosh, we're recording. It's happening.
it's happening. So tell me what's going on, because you didn't say I'm great. You said, something else.
All the things. We're in the season, we're in back to school season, right?
Right.
And so the pace has picked up a little bit. But yet I'm trying to slow down the pace of work so that I can be present for the littles and be present for myself a little bit as well, right? We just came out of this beautiful, busy season. And I kind of want to get ahead of the holiday season and make sure that I'm able to step away like I normally do. Although this year, has been full of so many opportunities, I tend to pull away during holiday season and slow down a little bit. And that's something I want to be
Right.
intentional about keeping as we continue to grow and navigate this world of design.
Oh my gosh. And did you hear that already? You said intentional. And I was thinking as I read your application and after having met you, there's a certain seriousness about you when it comes to design. And
Mm.
I thought that might be a great topic, designing with intention. I know that that's your business, that's your, well, I'm losing my mind this morning. Design intervention. There you go. Your design intervention. Why we put that at the end of the show, I don't know, because it's always like such a beautiful piece of advice. But your design intervention was design with intention. And I thought that is just so you from what little life had to be with you personally. That's a great vibe for you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for affirming that. Intentionality probably is one of my favorite words, like period. It's the way that I navigate my personal life. It's the way that I show up in the world. And so my business being in alignment with that is just a byproduct of like who I am to the core.
I admire that you had discovered that at a young age, because I remember so clearly when my kids were little and I was juggling all the things. I had to, and I'm not proud of this, but I really had to work at being present and in the moment. I had to say to myself, literally, I had to say to myself, you're at the park, he's on the swing, give him some attention, right? I was so like the to-do list in my head was overwhelming. And so I'd squeeze
Yeah.
in a park visit and I'd be all like tense. And I had to take my shoes off sometimes and walk with bare feet in the grass or
Yep.
get in the sand and remind myself there's nothing more important than what I'm doing right now. It did not come naturally to me, but does it
Yeah.
come naturally to you?
No, like to be very clear, I think what you just described, like we're all there. We're all there
Oh,
or we've been there, honestly. I think it's more so I catch myself a lot sooner than before, and
right.
that's when the intentionality come into play. The more that I can be proactive on the front end and be intentional, of course, about my values and what's important to me and communicate those things. It allows me to be able to like create a filter, and then catch myself when I see myself like going back on that hamster wheel or forgetting about what those values are. I can kind of pull myself back a little quicker than before. But
Hmm.
I think it's always going to be a thing when you're running a business, when you're a mom, a wife, a friend, all the things that are important to us in life. It's just, I almost think of it as a game, like, or not a game, more of a roller coaster, a rhythm, right? There's no balance, right? There's no perfect balance. It's kind of just moment by moment.
That's that's a really good point. There is no balance. Anybody who says they're going to tell you how to handle a work-life balance is that's just not a thing.
Yeah,
Where's the balance?
yeah.
None. But by being intentional, we can get out of the trap of feeling like we're victims. We
Mm,
can take
that's good.
agency. We can own
Own it.
solutions. And the fact that we're in August when we're doing this recording and you're saying, I want to make sure I'm in good shape for December for the
Yeah,
holidays tells me that you're practicing intentionality every day because for so many people listening, we want to give you a big hug because I know you're going to open your eyes in December and go, wait, what? The holidays
yeah,
now? I'm not ready.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And I'm telling you, they're coming. They're
They
coming.
are. They
Oh,
are sooner than before, right? Like we're already looking at Christmas and Thanksgiving decor in the stores, and so it feels life feels as though it's moving a lot quicker
yeah.
for me personally, than when I was a child. And so I want to make sure that I'm putting things in place to help savor these moments because we don't get them again. And so as thankful as I am to have this business and all these opportunities to come my way, I'm going to continue to pursue it. But I don't want to lose sight of the things that matter to me, which is family, myself, and soul care.
Yeah. And the thing about a business is it's supposed to support those things. I thought
Yeah.
I'm supposed to devote my life to building a business. No, the business is supposed to be set up in a way that sustains the lifestyle I want to live. And that means
Yes.
money for sure,
Yep.
but it also means taking time out to take, Cooper to soccer and Raleigh to dance. Like if
Mhm.
that's my priority, then act like it, right? And
Yeah.
I wasn't great at that. I struggled with that. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I'd love a do-over, but it doesn't work like that,
I
right?
know. I know. I just made a note of that. Like the business is supposed to support the life you want,
Yeah.
the personal life. Sometimes we just need that reminder.
Hey, designers, just popping in to remind you of the wonders of Daniel House Club. DHC simplifies your design business, offering everything you need in one place. No more wasting time managing orders. They've got that covered, so you can concentrate on creating beautiful spaces. Plus, they offer some of the best trade pricing on top brands like Four Hands, Curry & Co., and Hudson Valley Lighting with flat rate shipping. To join, visit danielhouse.club and use the promo code BOD2024, all caps, for 50% off your first year of their Pro Plus membership. And for you longtime members of DHC, they want to reward you for your loyalty. Use the code HighPoint2024 at checkout to receive 10% off the value of your next order. DHC is also super excited to celebrate BOD's 20th anniversary with us this fall at High Point Market. They will be sponsoring our seminar series on Saturday, October 26th, in partnership with some of their top vendor showrooms, including Four Hands, where mimosas will be on tap. Join Daniel House Club now and experience how easy managing your design business can be.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I thought was, so first of all, if I'm going to, at the top of the show, everybody has already heard me talk about your background and your bio and your Instagram handles and all that kind of stuff. But remind me right now of your website, indigopruitt.com.
It is.
Everybody has to go there and see the front page and see that picture. It makes me want to throw everything on my website out and start over because there's such a like relaxed vibe and such a like it's okay, I'm in charge, you're in good hands here, where so many interior design websites are about the hustle, the striving, the busy, the man. Yours is the opposite. I love it. And I wonder, do clients comment on like having decided to go with you once they saw your website?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for those kind words. I think I have I have experienced clients almost feeling as though they know me prior to me coming into their home. And that again was an intentional step, but it's also just kind of how I'm wired. So I wanted my website to feel as though like, hey, come on into my space, pour a cup of coffee, I'll show you around, come on in here, let's go in the kitchen, I'll serve you up some insight on what I'm all about and see if this is going to be a match made in heaven. The goal is to almost welcome them into my home on the internet, and allow them to feel comfortable in getting to know me in hopes that they're going to invite me into their home,
Right.
And so that's the way that I wanted it to flow. That's how I hope I show up on my social platforms, just being very authentic in my approach. And that's my website had to be a reflection of that, because in other spaces, that is really all that's all they're going to get from me is that authentic approach. I tend to be very easygoing for the most part. But comfort and authenticity is important. And so if I'm going to bring that in for myself, I want you to be able to pack yours up and bring it in, into my space as well.
Well, I think that, our websites allow clients to self-sort. They can look at the website and they can say, I don't belong here. This isn't my vibe, right? And I think sometimes we do ourselves a disservice because you see a website where every picture is the designer like suited up, like jacket and fancy. And then in real life, they're actually, wearing a skirt and Birkenstocks, and there's such a disconnect, right? When they show up at the house. So I've started peppering my website with me in jeans because that's like, I live in those things. Like I love wearing jeans, or in the country barefoot. There's pictures of me barefoot. It's like, that's kind of how it's going to be. If you hire me, I'm not really going to show up wearing taffeta.
Yeah. That's good. I get it.
So one of the things we thought we might talk about today in terms of designing with intention is paying close attention to the senses, and how I always forget one. There's sight, taste, sound, touch, hearing. I always forget hearing. I guess with interior design, I think hearing, but yeah, you've even got something for that. So will you tell us a little bit about how you integrate the senses into projects, and then what's the result of that integration for your clients?
Yeah. So it's actually it's an old thing, but a new thing, right? Like it's something that I've kind of always practiced. But I think I'm just realizing that it is a inspiring thing, and it's something that can be applicable to the consumer, but then also designers. It can be a new way of looking at design. And so I am kind of just now getting a lot more vocal about it. But it's the way that I've always approached design. I had a professor that taught in depth about the psychology of design, and he glazed over the five senses. And I asked him to dig a little bit deeper. And we had such good conversation from that. And that is such a like vivid moment that I remember, from, I won't say how many years ago because I'll age myself, but from, those undergrad days. And so when it was time to like navigate projects, and when I get into a creative rut, I can always rely on the five senses to be like a common ground, right? Kind of like a safety net to be able to connect with the client. We all have those times where you feel as though the concept or the creativity just is not flowing, and maybe you're not able to really articulate it to a client. But what's that common ground you can meet them on? And that's the five senses. And so I believe that there is a place where visually stimulating and beautifully curated spaces can live with a space that emotionally resonates with the client and that is fully immersive. I think both can exist. And when they're both done correctly, you don't just have a beautiful design, you have an experience for your client, right? You allow them to navigate through their home in a way that they didn't know that they needed before. And so the five senses, again, is just like a common ground that you literally can apply to every single project, no matter their demographics, no matter their upbringing, their experiences, the square footage of their home. It's like a go-to tool, so to speak, to get started, to kind of push the envelope on that next layer of design, right? We have this beautiful concept we've created. How can we take it a step further before the client comes in? And I think being intentional with the senses is one way to do that.
You can tell that you're excited about it and passionate about it. And I think like we can't help it, right? Like we do have strong opinions as human beings, and our clients must pick up on that. Your clients must love when you start talking to them about the experience of their home and how you've given that thought. It's not just like, hey, this looks nice. I mean, if that's as far as you're going, like, oh, that's an epic fail, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
let's talk specifics then. I mean, I think like sight, that's sort of, is that just self-evident? Is that just an obvious thing because we're an interior designer? What is some of the things you think about when you're thinking about the sense of sight?
Yeah, I think that's probably the most obvious one, right? Because we're creating just visual stimulation through our design. But one of the design principles that relate, I think, deeper for the sense of sight is harmony, right? How can you create beautiful harmony within the space? And I think a combination of color, light, and texture does that very well. So just being intentional that this design that you're creating feels very harmonious and it feels curated in a way that does not leave out the element of color, that allows light to shine, based on the way that client needs it to. And then how can you bring in other senses to elevate that sight, right? Like touch. That texture is a pivotal piece. So yes, it speaks to the sense of touch, but it also speaks to the visual piece as well, right? You can see texture. We may be talking about a wallpaper, right? That's a visual texture moment. So yeah.
But you can also touch it, to your point. One of the things I'll do when a client is in that mode of like, wow, the sofa's so expensive. Is there anything we could do to bring the cost down? I'll always let them feel and touch a fabric that's less expensive. And I'll say,
Yeah.
yes, this is the sacrifice. You can sit on this or you can sit on this. And they'll inevitably say, okay, I get it. If you want to save money, don't save money on something that's going to touch your body all the time, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
a sofa. If you want to save money, pick an end table that's inexpensive because nobody's touching it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
Yes.
not fabrics, not the things that you touch. Like, so you're
Yeah.
right. Those two things, sight and touch, intersect all the time. And are you intentionally thinking, I don't have enough contrast in my textures here as you're designing this space? Are you thinking like, I got a lot of, flat, stiff surfaces. I need something that's, sexy and, feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. That exactly as you describe. I kind of think that flows from my aesthetic, though, more so than the five senses is just a layer on top of the design, right? It is not the make or breaker for the design, but I think this idea of texture and the impact that it has on a space, the value system in that is based on my aesthetic, right? There's always going to be a high dose of texture in my projects, but I think it's one piece that can take a project over, right? Like it can elevate a space so quickly,
Right.
but without it, you see that it's missing. Or at least I do. I
Or
see that it's missing.
you feel
I feel
it.
it.
You feel
Yeah.
it, right? And the client could feel it. They might not know what they're feeling, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel as good. Okay, so
Yeah.
I think what I heard you say is you don't start by thinking, I'm going to design based on the five senses. You design based on your aesthetic, and then you say, have I incorporated the five senses here? So this will become a full experience for my client.
You got it. You got it. They
Hmm.
work in parallel with each other, right?
Okay.
I would say typically I'm not waiting to the end. It's definitely going to happen. So I'm going to do that five senses check before we get to the final stage of final presentation. I feel as though that those five senses really come alive during the reveal, that client reveal, because
Yeah.
then you can actually, it's almost as though your design is putting on a show for them.
Yeah.
You're literally tantalizing all their senses. This really came to life for me. I did 2 show houses, crazy me, in 1 year,
Oh, oh,
last year, and I
ouch.
was able, because we didn't have, the typical client reveal. We had the tours, and it felt a lot more grand. So I could really infuse this concept. And so one of the projects was a home theater. So we had popcorn for them to grab on their way in. There was an intentional fragrance that we created for that, that was sprayed on a rotating timer. We obviously, it was just texture galore. So we wanted to make sure that literally we created an experience for them that tantalized every last senses. There was a playlist. I connected with a local DJ here, and she created a playlist for that theater for me. And it was looping the entire time. So
So
after
good.
doing those 2 show houses, it became very evident to me that, wow, people really enjoyed this, right? They really experienced what I thought was just part of my process, right? Like, of course, I'm going to create an experience. If they're going to be spending time in here, of course, I want them to get the full saturation of this design. And what better way to do that than to connect on, again, a very human to human element, which is the senses. Every person was able to enjoy that, regardless of the beautiful Black figures that I had in there, right? Like, everyone could enjoy that space, not just because it connected culturally only with some of the guests.
Right. Yeah. I just had a reveal last week, and I realized like it would be so great to have music playing when the clients got home. Didn't even think of it.
Oh my gosh,
Never thought
yes.
of it. But of course, like why not? I was gonna actually ask you what about sound as a sense? How do you think about that when you're doing design? Is it about just audio visual equipment, or do you add things
Yeah.
that have like a gurgling sound, or what do you do?
No, I mean, I keep it very simple. Simple, but it has deep impact. I think music is therapy. I love music. Like, if you
Mm,
follow me on social, I'm always dancing. I love a good playlist going on. If you ever come to any of my events, I have a DJ there with music is always going to be played. It I think it's a mood booster instantly.
yeah.
It allows you to control the temperature of your environment, which is something that I value, like on a literal level, but then just figuratively speaking, when you walk into this space, I want to control the temperature. I don't want to feel as though I have to conform. And so when you play music within a space that you've designed, I'm helping fuel your subconscious into this beautiful concept we've created, right? So now, not only I'm creating a vibe and I'm helping you feel good, but on a business level, I want to sell to your subconscious. I
Mm.
want my design to be in your mind, not just in plain sight.
That is just so brilliant. I love that. It was one of these occasions again where I do the podcast and I learn so much and I think, I got to do better in this area. That's an area that I have not given a lot of thought to. And
Yeah.
that I realized as you're saying all this, it's so true. You want to sell to the subconscious, and that is
Hmm.
definitely going to be part of the experience. So, wow,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Well, what about taste? Does that play in this equation as well?
Yeah, I think it could play in a variety of different ways. Some folks like to wind down, literally wind down with a glass every night. I want to make sure that you have a place to put that glass, right? I want to know on the front end, right? This is an example here where we're considering those senses on the front end. So I want to make sure during the questionnaire and during that onboarding stage that I know how you like to end your day, how you like to start your day, how do you like to entertain. Food is going to be within all of that, right? Though, how do you like to tantalize the sense of taste, and how are my specifications aligning with that on the front end? So I want to make sure that you have a end table that can handle this glass of wine, or upholstery that can handle a spill of that wine. So that's, how you can incorporate it on the front end. But then also treat yourself. Like, what are the indulgence that you love? If you have a husband who works till 6 or 7 o'clock, put a bowl of his favorite chocolates to greet him at the door. What are those little moments that you can um really just treat yourself? I think the kitchen is the heart of the home. How are we designing this kitchen so that it really does feel the sense of taste? I just think
Mhm.
that there's just various ways that you can incorporate that particular sense in a way that's subtle but meaningful and intentional.
Yeah, I don't think we do enough in that regard in terms of just checking with the couple on what kinds of little indulgences they might
Yeah.
like. And one
Mm-hmm.
time we filled this beautiful candy jar with all these candies, and then the client's son ate them all and was grounded because he ate them all. And I'm
Uh-oh.
like, I'm never doing that again. Like, I felt so bad for the little kid. But to ask those questions up front, like it's funny, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not intentional enough about that. If I hear a client
Yeah.
saying they like tequila, I love tequila, so I'll always bring them a bottle during the
Mm-hmm.
reveal and say, try this one, it's my favorite or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not intentional about that. So that's interesting. I think maybe the place to do that might be at the presentation, when you're presenting
Mm-hmm.
the kitchen, what's your favorite snack? Where do you keep it? I'm going to
Exactly.
make sure you have some of those when you come home after the
Yeah.
is done. Okay. Something else for
Absolutely.
me
Or
to do.
even
I'm exhausted,
or
Marie. What are you doing this to me for?
I hear you. I hear you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But those are the details, right? Those are the details that come up when they're out getting their nails done with their friend and they're telling their friend about you, not just about that beautiful design, but the fact that maybe even during the reveal, when they walk in, there's someone there with not just a bottle of tequila, like a ready-made cocktail. So when they're walking through this beautiful home that you've designed, they're sipping that cocktail. They have their favorite playlist going in the background. Like, imagine that. We want to like go the extra mile with this design. There's I think that we're in a world where everyone is tapping into their creativity, right? And the amount of designers that are out there has definitely went up. This allows us to add a different layer of experience outside of the beautiful production that we create, the beautiful creative concept that we create. What is that layer that's going to be a lasting memory for them and for us?
Mhm.
And this is, again, a tool to be able to do that.
Well, you mentioned there's so many new designers out there, and it's true. And the fact of the matter is, if you want to compete on the basis of, my God, that is a huge coffee mug. I respect. Like,
So sorry.
that's a big old mug. I need that. If you want,
I needed it.
I need a coffee, so I'm like distracted now. If you want to
Sorry.
compete on the basis of we make rooms that look good, you're in trouble because that's like a lot of people make room. I
Yep.
mean, I look at websites all the time and I think, wow, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What you're talking about is a way to stand out and
Yep.
to make clients feel attached emotionally to what you give them. And they might not even
Mm-hmm.
be able to articulate it to someone else. They might
Yeah,
say,
for
you
sure.
have to use Marie. She's amazing. She does all the things you want her to do, but I can't explain it. You just have to use her. And that's a
Yeah.
great referral. I'll take that referral
Mm-hmm.
any day.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I have found to be true that luxury clients are used to that kind of service. They're used to above and beyond. They're used to the extra doses of kindness and intentionality. And so if that is going to, if that is speaking to your ideal client, then you need to know that they're used to those extra elements. So if you're just giving them a beautiful design, there's dozens of designers that can do that. What's that
Hmm.
extra layer that's going to, again, like you said, set them apart? But also like you're leaving a aftertaste, where you're leaving a lasting impression for them.
Yeah, and often, the projects have been long and
Yeah,
haven't run perfectly. Like something's
right.
happened, halfway through that's like, nobody expected that thing to have happened. So this is
Mm-hmm.
a chance for you to put all that behind you and leave them, as you said, with this lasting
Yeah.
impression, which goes, which lasts for years and years and years. If you're lucky, this client turns into somebody who hires you every single time they move or every single time they
Mm-hmm.
have a new bit of money to spend on the house. And that's really
Yeah.
the best. I said we did this reveal on Thursday, and I've talked about this on the podcast before. During COVID, the clients were calling. It was like they had a money cannon. Just do whatever you want, as much as you want. We want to do the pool, the backyard, the whole house, top to bottom. I definitely want a
Yeah.
bar. I need a gym. It was like crazy. And it was, oh my gosh, it was fun, right? It was fun, fun, fun. And now clients are a bit more like, we want to do all these things, but we're going to break it into phases. And this was a client who
Yeah.
had broken it into phases and not as much fun for me. And I think I had to summon the same excitement for half a house as I could summon
Mm.
for a whole house, right? And then at
Yeah.
the end of the big reveal, they opened a bottle of champagne. We had a glass of champagne. It was time to go. And as we were leaving, one client says, I love you. And the other client says, oh, and we're going to do phase two right away. So we'll talk to you Monday. Have a great weekend, kind of thing. And I was like, there you go. That's how
Yep.
you just keep the love coming and keep
Yeah.
keep your team employed and beautiful people in your neighborhood employed, right? Like all the
Yeah. I
local
love it.
vendors and suppliers. And it's such a feel-good business
It
if
is.
you can surround yourself with good people. And I think if you're
Mm.
intentional about what do you want to get out of this business?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah. Marie, so good to talk to you. We love to end every episode
Uh-huh.
with design intervention. I sort of stole yours and gave it away, but why don't you talk a little bit about why you thought that was a good design intervention? Remind people what it is.
Yeah. So my design intervention is to design with intention, not just for attention. It came from a place of early in starting my business, there was this race of wanting to build the portfolio up, and I have to build it a certain way, and there's only a certain style or aesthetic that is being marketed and targeted, and so I need to make sure that I'm fitting in that. And after a while, I got tired of that, and I felt as though it wasn't in alignment with one, who I am, this idea of just conforming, but then two, I didn't enjoy the creative journey that I was on within designing those spaces solely because I was trying to get attention, versus slowing down and really being intentional about my why, right? Why am I doing this? But then also, how can I be intentional with my clients? And so I want to navigate with my clients in a way that feels relationship driven, that feels as though we can establish some sort of relational equity for a long-term existing relationship. And the only way that I know to do that is to be intentional with my time and my effort and my design that I'm promising them. And so the attention will come because of that intentionality, right? It's almost as though we're flipping it. the attention and the visibility and the opportunities will come because I'm slowing down and I'm being very strategic with the moves that I'm making. I'm being very intentional with who I'm partnering with, who I'm surrounding myself with, the clients that I'm accepting. And then the beauty in all of that is the designs are very intentional, right? Which is the core of why we do what we do.
And I love that. It's a bit like do what you love and the money will follow. Like be intentional and then the
Yeah.
attention will automatically follow because that's so
Yeah.
attractive. It also works for life, right? Like that's a
Yeah.
rule that you can apply, right? To the family
It
and the
is.
littles, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is one of the, I would say one of the biggest aha moments of my career, reminding myself that the business flows out of who I am. I know oftentimes, we hear in these big mogul spaces that, you have to be this way over here, you have to be that way over here. I have no desire to live that kind of life, right? Like the principles and the models that serve me well personally are the same principles and models that's going to serve my business well. And so that allows me to have a filter for decision making and strategy. I live a life of intentionality over here. So why would my business operate in a different way?
Mhm.
I don't want to be miserable. I want to thrive in that space as well. And the only way that I can do that is to be me authentically.
I love it. And I'm so grateful to you. Of course, when I got to the case conference and I was checking in, there was a mix up with my room. You were the first person I met. We got to share an Uber to the event. And it was so nice to walk into the event feeling like I already know someone. I knew Jamila, of course,
Yeah,
but she was
right.
backstage getting ready. She did
Hmm.
such a great job at that conference. It was so much fun. I'm so happy for her. She's really something.
Yeah, it was incredible. It blew my mind. I really enjoyed my time there and absolutely enjoyed getting to know you and chatting with you a bit. I was sitting at the counter and I was quiet for a little bit because I'm like, I know her, but I know she doesn't know me. I've heard her like dozens of times. And when I realized that you were trying to get your room situated, like, okay, she's here, she's staying here, everything is good. So it was really good. Then it was just icing on the cake to share Uber with you. So
Yeah, it
thank
really
you.
was. Oh, thank you so much. I hope you'll come back on the podcast. Love talking
Yeah,
to you.
I
It
would
was
love to.
great.
I would love to. I would love to just connect with you. You've been just such a gem. You have just a beautiful spirit, and you always just have good insight on this wild design industry. So thank you for all that you do for us.
Oh, it is. And back at you. All right. Till next
Thank you.
time. Thanks, sweetie.
All right, talk to you
Bye
soon.
for now.
Bye bye.